Samantha, an AI virtual voice agent for Sears Home Services. How can I assist you today?
Hi, Samantha. I would like to speak to someone who isn't an AI robot.
We are now an AI-only service and do not have live agents available.
The second I saw AI and I saw Sears and I saw Samantha, I was like, I know this company.
Most people think of Sears as that mall store from their childhood, the one that's mostly closed by now. But here's something you probably didn't know. Sears Home Services is still very much alive and it's pretty massive. They claim to be the largest appliance repair service provider in the United States. They handle roughly about 7 million repairs every single year. We're talking washers, dryers, refrigerators, HVAC systems. If it breaks in your house, there's a decent chance that Sears Home Services has sent someone to fix it. And no, this is not an ad for Sears Home Services. I don't think I've ever used them, but here's another fun fact you might not know. Sears is trying to be at the forefront of AI innovation. Here is Srini Kandala, the CEO of their new initiative, speaking about their plans at the AI Summit in 2024.
We said, let's form a separate division where we are going to implement AI employee organizations within Sears for our use cases. And then we are going to go ahead and take those examples for other companies in the similar spaces, for the services industry, the IoT industry, and then appliances and AI industry.
Kairos isn't just one tool. It's a whole platform. It's Sears going all in on AI. And part of that includes an AI chatbot and a phone assistant named Samantha. Customers can interact with Samantha, they book repairs, ask questions, provide their personal information, and all of it gets logged. This is where security researcher Jeremiah Fowler enters the picture. Fowler discovered 3 publicly exposed databases, no passwords, no authentication, just wide open. Side note, while researching this topic, I realized that Jeremiah, the researcher who discovered all this open and free data, is actually my coworker.
My name is Jeremiah Fowler. I am a cybersecurity researcher, and I am also with Black Hills.
So here's the breakdown. The chat logs included 3.7 million files. There was 1.4 million auto files and their plain text transcripts. There was data spanning from 2024 all the way to 2026. And in one single CSV file, it contained 54,395 complete chat logs. And this wasn't vague or anonymized data. These recordings were detailed. We're talking full names, home addresses, phone numbers, and what appliances their customers own, delivery and repair appointment times and details, and it was in both English and Spanish. Now, think about having that combination for a second. You have someone's name, their phone number, their home address, and you know exactly what appliances they own and when a technician is scheduled to show up. That is everything you need to run a convincing warranty scam. Hi, this is Sears Home Services calling about your LG refrigerator repair scheduled for Thursday. And then suddenly you're handing over your credit card to a scammer who is, well, who really knows? It could be me. It might be me. I don't know. Maybe you want to give me your credit card information. Okay, so the data exposure is bad, really bad. But here's where the story takes a turn that genuinely surprised me, and I uncover stuff for a living. Some of those 1.4 million audio files, they weren't just recordings of customer service calls. A significant number of them captured hours of ambient audio after the customer thought the call had ended. Some recordings stretched up to 4 hours long.
You know, we're all used to these automated calls that just end when the message is done. For example, when that call ends, it's like, okay, thank you for calling, goodbye. And then it keeps recording. You get someone that's not paying attention, especially older people that are not, on social media every 30 seconds. They set the phone down, they go on with their life. But, it's recording everything in the background. So that's a huge privacy issue.
So let's let that sink in. You call to schedule a washer repair, you say goodbye, and you think you hang up, but the line is still open and it's recording. Your family's talking in the background, your TV, a private conversation, all of it captured and stored. Now multiply that by hundreds of thousands of calls, you see get the picture. And here's the kicker. That audio was then converted to plain text transcriptions, making it fully searchable whatever was said in your home during those 4 hours, potentially sitting in a database transcribed into readable text, and then, well, it was exposed to the open internet. Let's talk about what this audio data actually is, because calling it audio files kind of undersells the severity. The exposed databases contained approximately 3.9 terabytes of biometric voice data. Your voice isn't just a sound, it is a fingerprint. Voice recordings capture unique physical and behavioral characteristics like the way your vocal cords resonate, your cadence, your tone, and that can be used to identify or verify you specifically. And that's why it's classified as biometric data. It's in the same category as your fingerprint or a retinal scan. And we're living in a moment where AI voice cloning is more accessible than ever. Bad actors can take a recording of your voice, even just a short one, and generate a near perfect synthetic copy.
When you have audio recordings, that's biometric. We already have AI that can take that, and in 15 to 30 seconds, you can clone that voice. Do a little bit of OSINT, you figure out who their family members are, and then I can call that person in their own voice and say, I need help. Can you send $500?
Now, imagine what someone could do with hours of ambient audio from inside your home. Not just a clean sample, but real, natural speech, conversations, laughter, arguments. That's rich, high-quality training data for a voice model built to sound exactly like you. This isn't just science fiction. AI voice manipulation for social engineering is already happening, and 3.9 terabytes of exposed voice data is precisely the kind of resource that makes those attacks easier and more convincing and harder to detect. So, not really great news.
In one case, it's bad that these databases were not password protected for whatever reason. Could have been a firewall update, could have been a list of different things, but to store this information in plain text documents and in WAV files is really dangerous at a level of, you're collecting millions of data points, and each one of them had PII.
And here's where I have to be honest with you about the limits of what we know. Fowler reported that it's not confirmed whether this database was owned or managed directly by Sears or by a third-party contractor. And that distinction does matter, but it doesn't actually change the fact that customer data was exposed. More critically, it's not really known how long that database was publicly accessible before Fowler found it. And it could have been days, or it could have been months. And, well, perhaps the most unsettling part of it is that it's not really known whether anyone else accessed it before it was secured.
And the longer that a database is exposed, the higher the risks of bad guys getting it, nation states getting it. So it's a huge disservice for an organization to not have a communication channel for people like myself and researchers, bug bounty hunters, to report that.
So I guess that's just kind of the nature of exposed databases. There's no alarms that go off when someone finds one, and there's no log of unauthorized visitors. So by the time a researcher discovers it and reports it, the data may have already been harvested. So what do you do with all of this? If you've used Sears Home Services in the past 2 years, last year, this year, treat your information as potentially compromised and be skeptical of any calls you receive about appliance repairs or warranties. Scammers with this data will know your name, your address, what appliances you own, so don't let that familiarity lower your guard. Enable two-factor authentication, always, chef's kiss, and be cautious with unknown callers, or, just be like me and don't answer them, Anyway, but if you do answer them, even if they seem to know a lot about you, you should, verify and just be skeptical in general. And if you ever receive a voice message or a call that seems kind of slightly off, even from someone you know, verify through a separate channel, like text message, give them a call before acting on anything. Like if they ask for, I don't know, let's say $100,000 or your credit card information that you should send to me. As for Sears, this is a reminder that deploying AI at scale comes with responsibility. Millions of customers trust them with their information and their voices. That trust demands better protection than an unsecured database sitting in the open internet.
Communicating what went wrong, how you're going to fix it, and the scope of the exposure to your customers, to your stakeholders, that's a very important first step. Anytime there's a data incident. And I always say it's not when a data incident happens, or if, it's when.
If you found this video valuable, drop a like, obviously. It genuinely helps my channel and reach more people who need to hear this stuff. Subscribe if you haven't, and share this with someone who uses any kind of AI phone assistant, because this won't be the last story like it.
I think you're going to see a huge tidal wave of these types of breaches because AI, we think that it's just this magic in the cloud. So it's secure by design, and it's not.
I'll see ya in the next one.